What you will see at first are some important clips from the incident that day between John and Jade, along with my commentary.
Where's your emergency?
I need a police officer at 1419 Starling Avenue, please.
1419 Starling?
Yes, please.
Okay, what's going on?
Domestic.
Domestic? Okay, what's your name, man?
He's VanderMeulen.
All right, I will send a deputy over there.
All right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
After watching some of the clips of this incident and my commentary along the way, then you're going to hear an interview that I held directly with Jonathan VanderMeulen to let him tell his own story as to what really happened.
This is my house, and then she was like, I'm done with it, and blah, 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 and I was like, fine, then we have a 2-year-old together.
Okay.
So me and her are going to go to my parents until you're done doing whatever, and call me.
John made it clear to Deputy Hoffman that he wanted to take their 2-year-old daughter to his parents' house to give Jade time to decide what she was going to do. His parents are Doug and Laura VanderMeulen, and they were in Jamaica at the time. John was trying to restore the peace and let her figure out what she wanted to do.
And then she was just started freaking out, smacking me in the face, and she knows how to play the game, and she was trying to make me hit her, and I wouldn't hit her, and I have security cameras in the house.
Okay.
And I've got her on proof, smacking me in the face and pushing me over, and I'd never touched her.
Okay.
And
listen to what Jonathan is telling the deputy. Jade knows how to play the game. She's been through this before. She grew up in a home that's been through this. She was smacking him in the face, and she tried to get him to hit her so that she could report it to the cops. Now, some of you think this may be made up, but this is not uncommon amongst women who are seeking to get out of a marriage and take a bunch of the money and the children with her. All across America, this is going on. But the integrity of his accusations is demonstrated when he tells the deputy, I have security cameras in the home, and you can go and see exactly what she did there. So, as you'll see in the ongoing interviews, why didn't Chief Deputy Seth Hoffman, making $102,000 a year in salary and benefits, as professional as he should be, why didn't he walk in the house, hear her side, then say, okay, I'm going to invite John in. You're both going to sit in separate chairs. We're going to have John pull the chip out of that camera, and we're going to listen and watch what you said and did and what he said and did. At that moment, if she was not bearing false witness, if she was not lying, she would say, fine, go get it. If she was, she'd say, you know what, we can work this out. Thanks for coming out, deputy. We're done. Why didn't Seth Hoffman pull that video? I've since asked John, and that video is like the chips on dash cams. They loop over and they record on top of each other. He never thought of it. But that's a professional deputy investigator's job to think of that. So the film has been copied over. It's gone. But think about the integrity of his accusations when he told the deputy, when he showed up there, you can see what happened. Go get the video. The deputy doesn't do it. Again, these women, this is common. They're trained in this. And John was being set up, as he said over and over, I didn't take their bait. I was not going to take her bait. So keep this all in mind as you watch the video clips going forward.
yeah,
And what's your wife's name?
Jade.
Jade. Okay.
She's been through a domestic thing before, and I'm not going to have nothing to do with it.
Okay.
Now understand something. Even if a party doesn't agree to file a complaint, in this case, if John wouldn't file a complaint against Jade, the sheriff's department can still secure that evidence. They can ask for that video of that security in the home. They can get the video evidence of Jade doing all this and hitting him first and pushing him over, and they can turn around and file a criminal complaint, charges against her, even without John's testimony, with his video evidence. It would still be up to the county attorney, ours, the one we have currently, to prosecute the charges or not. But the question is, why didn't Deputy Hoffman ask for or investigate or get that security video that John says is available? Why the default on that question? There's another point that should be investigated. she's been through a domestic before, and I'm not going to have anything to do with it. Clearly, Jade has been conditioned and trained and knows this whole drill. And Jonathan was smart enough to not take her bait, not take the whole system's bait, and not play the game. Why wouldn't the sheriff's deputy pursue further one who has been through this domestic before? He could get a hold of the law enforcement agency in the other community. He can look at the evidence there and take a further look at what game she was playing here or not. Now, John may be lying to the deputy. He may be making this all up, but the thing that's missing is that Deputy Hoffman never went and actually investigated these things. And that does that show a, what's the word I'm looking for? A deference to the feminist agenda in the family court system. They're trained by all these counselors from CASA and Family Crisis Center and so forth to basically shill for the women who are playing this game. I just wonder exactly why Chief Deputy Hoffman didn't pursue this any further.
I don't know if she was lying or who she was calling and blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, well, we're just going to my parents' house. So.
Can you wait here while I talk to her?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
That was a sum total of about 55 seconds of the initial incident interview that Deputy Sheriff Hoffman did of John VanderMeulen. It was less than a minute. All of the interview that follows of her, of Jade and her daughter from a previous relationship takes over 30 minutes. This is not uncommon. I've seen it before. And men have told me this as well. And they're in a hurry to get to the one that they've been trained and conditioned to believe is the innocent victim, and often just go through the motions to get some basics from the guy. Note the difference in that time. Now later they get together and they're all having discussions and so forth, but as far as gathering the facts, less than a minute, over 30 minutes. That's the difference.
Oh.
Because he took it apart for the figuring out and then stuff it back together. Hi.
Okay, can you tell me what happened?
He was getting pissed off at me, and I had the baby in my arms, and he came to grab her from me and take her, and I hit him.
Okay.
Because I didn't want him taking her.
Okay.
And then he kept coming at me, trying to get her from me, and we ended up on the floor.
Okay.
But he was yelling at me that it was my fault because I didn't give her to him.
Okay. Do you have any injuries at all?
No, he kicked me in the side when I was on the floor, but I don't think it was hard enough to.
Okay, did
And when he grabbed me on the back of the couch, he grabbed me by my neck.
Okay.
I don't have anything. I just want my baby.
Okay. How did the fight start?
We got in an argument about her,
Okay.
and he was being an asshole. Like, I wasn't asshole, he was an asshole. He said I was being a bitch. He says I always take her side because she's my daughter. And he said that next time she does something, he's going to hit her. And I said, you will not ever touch her.
Okay.
And then he started yelling at me. And that's where it blew up, is because I told him he was not allowed to ever touch my daughter.
Okay. And you're 14?
Yeah.
What's your name?
Zoe.
Zoe.
Eli.
Eli.
I have my mom coming to get us, and somebody is going to let us live with them.
Okay.
I just don't want him taking my baby.
All right, and that's I think the baby's safe with him for now. So
I
this
just
some
don't think he'll ever give her.
well that you can let the court decide that. Don't fight it out physically.
Can't be away from her that long.
Okay. Where are you gonna go?
His sister.
Well, his sister's gonna pick you up.
My mom's gonna pick me up with his sister so we can live with them.
Okay. Who's his sister?
Becca. Wills.
Becca Wills. Right now, he said he was going to go to his mom and dad's place.
They're not here.
They're
They're on vacation.
On vacation. Okay.
They're on a cruise. He gave us.
And they
till
come back
next Saturday.
Late.
He's been an asshole for a while, and this has kind of been coming to a head.
Okay.
It
How long?
just-
How long you guys been married?
3 years.
3 years. Okay.
We've been together about 5.
Okay. Okay. So what is the plan from here? You're gonna go. You are eventually gonna move out.
We're done.
You're done. Okay.
Yeah.
It might be for the best then. This is how it's gonna be. So.
That might be for the best then, if that's how this is going to be. Are you serious, Deputy Hoffman? You have served in the past as an elder in the Cornerstone United Reformed Church in Sanborn. You know what Matthew 19 says. Verse 5, and for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then, there are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man separate. If this is how it's going to be, you said, what's going to be? You've been there for 10 minutes, and you've made a determination that this is how it's going to be, and might just be for the best. Are you not encouraging this woman to go ahead and get this divorce? They have a 2-year-old daughter. This woman her mother's divorced. She's been with another guy before. She now wants to get divorced. Their child is going to live with a divorce and have separated parents. This is a generational curse that's coming down. And Jonathan's had his own problems before this. Is this not the time to say enough of this stuff? Instead of facilitating CASA and Family Crisis Center and just helping all the monies that come from the government into all your agencies and departments to help separate these families, why don't you think of Christ and his commands and say nothing? You could say, look, take some time, think about this. If you'd like, here's our pastor's phone number, Reverend Dan Donovan in Sanborn. Maybe the two of you could go down there and sit down and visit with him and start to sort out what saith God about husband and wife, and their expectations of marriage, and their duties and responsibilities, and the joys and pleasures, and where we failed where you both were failed at being raised in these things. We can help you with it. We'll get an elder and his wife to sit down and spend some time with you as a couple. In fact, I learned later from Jonathan that when he was in the court, he was up against Jade's attorney and a judge, and he was in there by himself, and he said, well, before we get going with all this, is there some counseling that we can get? This young man was asking for counseling, and the court said nothing. Nobody offered anything. And now here you are encouraging this with just such a short notice. You need to repent, Deputy Hoffman. Seth, this is wrong.
And
I'm not looking to press any charges.
okay,
Or
and
anything.
it doesn't sound like he is either.
I just
It sounds
things
like
got out of hand and I got scared.
okay. All right. It sounded yeah. He mentioned that he got slapped, but he didn't want any charges. I didn't see any injuries on him, and you don't have any injuries on you, so
Nothing worse.
okay.
No, it was just he came at me and the baby, and that was my.
All right. So what you'll have to do is get yourself an attorney for custody, and maybe by the end of the day, when things kind of settle down, you can talk to each other again about what steps you want to take next.
Now let's stop for a minute and take a look at the bigger picture of what Jonathan VanderMeulen is up against. He's not alone in this. Millions of men in the last 2 generations have gone through what he's now heading into. It is bringing about the destruction of marriage and family. It has brought about. Many, many men now no longer have any interest in being married because of the system that America has created in our courts and the family law area in the last 2 to 3 generations. I'm going to give you a background so you understand the context of what's happening here. There's an article published in Psychology Today by a criminologist. It was dated April 30th, 2017, by Dr. Scott Bonn, B-O-N-N, written again in Psychology Today. He writes, the sociological concept known as moral panic offers valuable insights into how and why powerful social agents, such as the news media and the police, deliberately create public concern or fear of an individual or a group. Keep in mind, as I'm reading this, think of abusive husbands. Well, we've been taught for a couple generations now about those individuals. The moral panic concept was developed and popularized by South African criminologist Stanley Cohen when he explained the public reaction to disturbances by youths called mods and rockers at seaside resorts in Brighton, England during the 1960s. Central to the moral panic concept is an argument that public concern or fear over an alleged social problem is mutually beneficial to state officials, that is, the police and law enforcement authorities, and the news media. The relationship between state officials and the media is symbiotic in that politicians and law enforcement need communication channels to distribute their rhetoric, and I would maybe add the word fear, and the media need tantalizing news content to attract a wide audience, which in turn attracts advertisers and revenue. Additionally, Bond writes, moral panics have 3 distinguishing characteristics. First, there's a focused attention on the behavior, whether real or imagined. Think again, domestic abuse claims by wives, or of certain individuals, again, the abusive husbands, that are transformed into what Cohen refers to as folk devils, quote unquote, by the mass media. Abusive husbands, the last 2 generations, have now become the folk devils by the media. This is accomplished when the media strip these folk devils of all favorable characteristics and apply exclusively negative ones. So, has John been a provider? Is he provide a home? Does he care for? Does he work hard and pay for the things needed in the home? Is he leading his home properly? None of that is even considered, and all they do is they focus on exclusively negative ones, which are often minor in a few cases, which are serious and need to be taken care of, but all the rest of them are massive waves of exaggerations. Now back to Bond. Second, there is a gap between the concern over a condition and the objective threat it poses. Typically, the objective threat is far less than popularly perceived due to how it is presented by the authorities, the local police, sheriff's offices, and or the media. Finally, public hysteria over a perceived problem often results in the passing of legislation that is highly punitive, unnecessary, and serves to justify the agendas of those in positions of power and authority. Okay, let's take an example. Let's say that now John has been charged with harassing by text. So a man is working with a wife who's in sin, in rebellion, and he's questioning her. He's asking her to stop it and correct it. And she gets more rebellious, more mouthy, more in his face. And she starts making false accusations about him and so forth. With that, she pulls rank, gets the state, the deputies and people involved, or she turns to family and runs and leaves him and won't communicate, won't talk to him and so forth. And most of this started with her original sin. And he then feels himself isolated. No one will talk to him. They're threatening they've already called the cops. And suddenly he gets angry and he'll say some stupid stuff. He'll say some things that were not helpful, but he's doing it out of frustration of the massive injustice that will soon you're gonna hear in this report. It'll soon translate into his mental illness, quote unquote. And so he texts these things. There's things later on you delete and you say, honey, forgive me, that was stupid. But this is after she has repented of all the harm and sin against him in this home that she has done. But these are highly punitive laws. They're unnecessary, and they serve to justify the agendas of those in positions of power and authority. If all those minor little nuanced laws would go away, you wouldn't have the justification for cops and sheriff's deputies near as great. Now let's go back to Bond. Moral panic is both a public and political response to an exaggeration or distortion of the threat posed to society by some allegedly harmful individual. More specifically, moral panic includes an exaggeration of certain events by enhancing the empirical criteria, such as the numbers of individuals involved or the level and extent of the violence. So now you have the moral panic can be fanned by exaggeration by the authorities of the level and extent of violence, even, or if there even was any. Law enforcement, again, back to Bond, law enforcement such as the police and prosecutors are vital to a moral panic as they are charged with upholding and enforcing the codes of conduct and official laws of the state. These agents of the state are expected to detect, apprehend, and punish the folk devils. Law enforcement have a sworn duty and moral obligation to protect society from folk devils when they present themselves. Furthermore, law enforcers must work to justify and maintain their positions in society. What a better way to do than going after folk devils who often are powerless, without money, and have the entire culture now turned against them. Does great things to make the cops look needed. Final quote from Bond: a moral panic can offer law enforcers legitimacy and purpose by ridding society of folk devils that allegedly threaten its well-being. End quote. These folk devils, if you will, these husbands falsely accused, are running from marriage. They're running from family. They're going further deep into drugs and porn and escaping from society because there is no hope to them to be a man, to provide for a family, to enjoy marital relations with a wife, to be blessed by her in the home, and want to go out and build something for his wife and his children and family. They're running from all of that. They can't get it anymore from the normal biblical foundations. Keep these things in mind as you listen more carefully about what is happening to Jonathan VanderMeulen. Thank you.
But I would definitely not be together today. Eventually he's going to find out that taking care of a child is not
No,
as
he
easy.
can't do it by himself. I do it all.
Yeah,
He's
so
just
he'll find that out. Okay, but where would you move to from here?
Spirit Lake.
Spirit-
It's
Okay, so it's not, would you move there permanently if you found a place, or?
Oh, I was already trying to make a plan.
Okay,
And I was gonna try to find somewhere in like Lake Park or something.
okay,
Because I work in Simply.
okay. Yeah, you don't want to move too far. Where do you work at?
Merrick.
America, okay,
Baby's daycare's in Harris.
okay. Okay. What's your phone number?
712
Okay,
832 0326.
0326, okay.
Did you say something? The police? Put it on speakerphone. Yeah, his sister wants to talk to you.
Hi, this is Seth Hoffman from the Sheriff's Office.
Hi, I am John's sister.
Sure.
I just wanted to let you know that I don't think Journey is safe with John.
Okay,
He's had drug abuse issues in the past. He's gone to rehab. He's been very violent and threatening lately to multiple people. Hi, honey. And I don't believe that she is safe with him.
okay,
So I'm very concerned.
okay,
And I do believe that she is safe with Jade.
okay. Do you have a good relationship with your brother?
Off and on, not currently, because we believe that he is using drugs again.
Okay,
He's not using drugs. He's just
just angry?
crazy. He's been angry lately.
Okay,
Okay. Yeah,
It's
he's
due
not
to
been
all
he's
this
not had a
stuff.
good relationship with his family lately.
okay. Yeah, I'm not sure there's a whole lot I can do to stop him from taking the baby for today. He said he's going to stay at your parents' house until people leave here.
Okay, I don't even think he can get into my parents' house. My
Okay.
parents'
Yeah,
house
'cause
is
they're
locked up.
with
They're
her.
on vacation.
Okay. Well, I'll talk to him about that, and then we'll kind of see what we're going to do from now.
Okay.
Like,
Um,
I
he'll
even
tell you-
told him earlier that I'm not trying to keep her from him, but I'm not leaving her with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that
He-
he's not
he'll-
going to give her back.
Yeah, he'll tell you that he can get into my parents' house, but the only way he can get in is if he breaks in, because they have hidden everything from him and locked everything up because they don't trust him lately.
Okay.
So he's not allowed to stay there.
Okay.
And my parents are currently on an airplane, but they're going to be landing at 11 o'clock if I need to get them in touch with you.
Okay. Yeah, they might be who we need to go through to get the child out of his hands and do.
And they will 100% agree with me.
Okay. Okay. And how is their relationship with him?
Not good.
Not good
Oh,
currently.
not
It has
at all.
always been
Okay.
good up until the past 6 months or so when his behavior has changed.
Okay.
Drastically.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Well,
due to his threatening behavior and his violentness, especially today, I very much worry about the baby with him.
okay. All right, I'll talk to him. I'll see what I can work out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Can I talk to Jade again?
Yep,
Yep,
she's right
I'm
here.
just going to take you off speaker.
I'm going to talk to him for a minute, see how that's going to be.
He just asked me to come talk with him. I'm not talking to him anymore. I'm done.
Okay.
He says I don't want to do this.
All right, I'll talk to him. Parents are on vacation right now. They'll be back sometime soon. Well, they don't think you can get in.
Oh, well. Yeah, sure.
10-4.
Talk about it and resolve this.
Yeah, that might not happen till later today. She's pretty upset yet. She don't want charges filed either, but her concern is like, okay, what are you going to do with the child?
Well, as soon as she calms down, we'll come back inside.
Okay.
But I mean, we'll just go and play in the shop for a second and go to breakfast, I guess.
I'm done. I'm not going to come. I'm done. Nope. I'm not going to talk to him.
Okay. I kind of figured that. I told her you at least need a few hours to think things over before you.
Why?
So I
This
don't
whole
know.
thing happens and he just turns around and doesn't want me to leave, doesn't want it, but he was getting my ass out that door and taking my daughter from me.
Yeah. I can't say. I'm not saying this is logical. This is all emotional, and that's why people need time and space to figure this out. He said he was going to call his sister too. I don't know if he will. I told him his parents weren't home, and he said, well, you could check with his other aunt and uncle, but I think they're probably gone too. And then he talked about going to Troy in Lake Park, his cousin. So I'm trying to make it so that you guys, neither one of you wants to hold the child from the other or is worried that
Then why
Yeah.
did you come at me to take her?
yeah, I know.
Like, my past relationship was very abusive. And when you come at me to take my daughter out of my arms, I'm going to react.
Yep.
Mom, maybe he was worried you were going to take her from him.
I was telling him that I'm not keeping her from him. I just wanted to leave.
Yeah. I know, but when they're emotional like that, they're not hearing
He's
you.
he's emotional all the, like,
Sure.
his emotions are,
It's like bipolar, kind of. Not in like a mean way, but like, it's kind of how. Because he gets, like, he always, like, yells at me and stuff. But then, like, he'll come back down in an hour, nothing happens. and I'll be like, that's not how things work. Doesn't apologize or anything. Nothing happened.
Okay. So there is no drug use as far as you know.
There is no.
Okay.
No, I would know if there's. It's just something. A lot of stuff was going on with his family, and it just kind of clicked, and he's been just pissed off, and just his emotions are just. It's almost like he had a mental break, kind of, where I don't know, like it's hard to explain.
So Becca will be here in 20 minutes or so. Okay.
Oh, I thought it was grandma.
I haven't gotten anywhere with grandma yet. She Hello. Yeah, the sheriff's still here. John is in his truck outside with the baby because he has nowhere to go. But he keeps wanting to talk to me, and he doesn't want me to leave. I don't want to talk to him. And I have nothing to say. All right, bye.
Is that
He's calling her right now, so
Okay.
I told her to answer it because she wasn't going to.
I don't know if that's going to do much good because I don't think he's, what do you say, very happy with any of his family members right now.
No, but I don't.
You don't know what happened between the two of them?
I
Or
do.
the family
He
members?
just, it's weird. It's him just being a baby, like not getting this equal attention as the rest.
Is he the baby of the family?
Yeah.
He's the youngest, isn't he?
And he has a brother that his dad does everything for, and he gets the shit end of it. He feels like, and he hasn't let his parents see that baby since September, and we live a mile away from them. So for him to think that he can just go over there, like he won't let them have anything to do with us.
Well, Doug told me there was, like, for, like, the garage, a thing in, like, a truck he has outside. But I'm not telling him that.
But yeah, Becca just wants you to stay here until she gets here.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
all.
how far away is she? Yeah, that's fine.
Just, they're leaving Spirit Lake.
Like 20, 25 minutes.
Like, I just, what really gets me is that, you know, it was so bad and now he's apologetic.
Yeah. Well, that sounds a little bit bipolar. Is he on medication?
You know, I've tried to tell him that, you know, it does help some people.
Yeah.
And he's against it. I myself am on stuff that he doesn't know about because I can't handle him.
All right. Have you guys talked about separating in the past?
He's threatened me divorce so many times when
Okay.
I don't agree with him or whatever, and it's just gotten to the point where I'm okay with him now.
Okay.
I mentally I'm out of the relationship. I've been trying to stick it out and see if things change, things get better, but they aren't.
Okay. You said have you been through counseling on domestic abuse in the past?
I was recently just going to therapy quietly without saying anything to anybody.
Okay.
Wow. But I quit going because I was keeping it a secret, and I felt some sort of way about doing that.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a bad sign that you got to keep that secret. That doesn't say a whole
I
lot.
would have gotten mad if you told him that you were going to therapy.
Yeah. So I think that might be a sign
I've
that
been
you guys.
trying to do things, outside to try to help myself deal with this and try to, maybe it's me. I was trying to figure out, is it me that is the problem, or is I can't tell anymore.
Where was your counselor from?
Simply,
Someone.
I got her through work
Okay.
because I was going to my boss a lot about my problems, and she suggested I go to therapy.
Well, if you've had a past relationship that was pretty rough, and now you're seeing it again.
I can't.
Yeah.
All I see in my future is just this.
Seeing it again? What exactly is she seeing again, Seth? This is the second time she's been through this now, as you state. Does she even know what she's seeing again? Does she have any idea what God says about marriage and family, husbands and wives, and their proper role that brings peace and love into marriages? But focusing on her emotions and getting a female boss to send her to a female therapist where they all focus on emotions, she's going to keep seeing this again and again and again. It's quite surprising that as a senior member of a Reformed church in Sanborn that you wouldn't have a greater knowledge to help people like this when you come across them. But let's talk about this therapeutic culture that they're now swimming in, that Seth is promoting, that this woman is lost into, how she's getting recommended to it, the possible counselor that she's probably going to. Let's see what Frank Ferretti wrote about this. Frank was a philosopher and apologist in England some years ago who wrote a profound book called Therapy Culture, the very culture of the therapy world. Now, Frank Ferretti's not alone. Tom Saz, Martin Bobkin, a whole lot of other scholars have, biblical scholars in some cases. Saz was an unbeliever, but others were believers in Jesus Christ. But let's see what Frank Ferretti says about this very culture and how it applies to the situation with Jonathan and Jade. I'm quoting from the book, and I'll stop and have some comments along the way. The distinguishing feature of therapeutic culture is not an openness towards emotions, but the unusual interest it takes in the management of people's inner life. You're going to see this real quick when you see Jonathan's sister Jade show up and how much she's focusing on John's inner life, his emotions, and his inability to carry these things. It transforms the private feelings of people into a subject matter for public policy making and cultural concern. This marriage difficulty should be a very private matter between the two of them. It should be some Titus 2 women, some counselors, and some biblical elders and so forth, helping them with this private matter, but now it's become a very much a public policy and cultural concern. Oh, all these abusive husbands, as we're told. And I'm not denigrating that there are some men who have done wrong to their wives, but the cultural milieu is going the other direction. Now back to Ferretti. But at the same time, it adopts a selective attitude towards what emotions can and what emotions cannot be displayed. Now think of Christ and his emotions when he 3 times kicked the money changers out of the temple, and how he told Peter, when he cut off the ear of one of the Roman guards, he said, "Get thee behind me, Satan." 2 or 3 times, Jesus has showed angry emotions. Now, would the therapeutic culture say, Jesus, you need to get better control of your emotions and so forth? The point here is there are good emotions and bad emotions. Sometimes a negative emotion can be a very righteous thing. And so we can't just categorize emotions completely like the therapeutic culture does. Now going on. The cultivation of certain emotional attitudes and the repression of others is systematically pursued by institutions and professionals, therapists, for example, devoted to the management of how people ought to feel. So now you have women therapists. The predominant number of marriage therapists in America, 76% are female. Average age is 40. Go on Psychology Today, run Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It'll overwhelm you how many young women are these professionals. So you take their emotional state and they then get to impute it onto men. That's why men don't want to go and see these female therapists. But the whole industry is now devoted to managing how people like John VanderMeulen should respond to it in his emotional state. Back to Ferretti. Contemporary society lacks certainty about its beliefs. Previously in the book, Ferretti says, with the loss of the church and the moral foundations from God's law, we've lost our certainty, and now we've opened the door for therapy to come in. Back to Ferretti. It finds it difficult to transmit a clear vision of a just world. A clear vision of a just world comes right from God's law. And as the church has failed, now everybody's wandering around for a clear vision of what's just, what's right and wrong. So right and wrongs definitely should be applying within Jonathan VanderMeulen's home for John and Jade. In particular, there seems to be great hesitancy about offering people a clear system of meaning. Well, for those in the Reform world, we know that a man's chief end, his meaning to all life, is to glorify God and to enjoy Him forever. But we can't even give a clear sense of meaning to our purpose in life anymore. It is this confusion about providing people with meaning that provides the therapeutic worldview with considerable opportunity to spread its influence, and it has spread. He wrote this book 20 years ago. It has gotten much worse since then. Massive numbers of girls graduate from high school, go off to get a degree in psychology, get a master's degree, become a therapist. They bring their emotional state into a void that the church has left behind. Today's cultural elite may lack confidence in telling people what to believe, but it feels quite comfortable about instructing people how and what to feel. This is dangerous stuff, and Jonathan is finding out. The institutionalization of therapeutics endows it with a potentially coercive dimension. Therapeutic authority acts on the premise that it alone knows what emotions are positive and negative. So there we are. The therapist can determine, and if you don't have the right positive emotions that they believe is right, they can have you declared mentally unstable. They can take away your parental rights. They can do all kinds of stuff that is absolutely evil. It acts on the assumption, back to Ferretti, it acts on the assumption that it has the expert authority to train, educate, and in some cases dictate how people should feel. In previous times, the orientation of public institutions was towards people's behavior and beliefs. State intervention was directed towards cultivating and enforcing acceptable forms of conduct and beliefs. So as a common Christian worldview, the state's role was to punish sinful or criminal, unlawful behavior and to suppress beliefs that hated Jesus Christ and so forth. That was the state's role before. Now the therapeutic world has opened the whole internal mind and thoughts and emotions of people to be part of public policy. Now that's, again, my comments. Back to Ferretti. Today, these activities are also supplemented by an attempt to encourage conformity with key therapeutic values through the management of subjectivity. I would say, as you watch John a little bit later in this whole matter, he's being forced into a certain subjectivity of how he should conform, and he doesn't like it, as most men would not. This approach extends the business of government from the public to the private, and more disturbingly, to the internal life of the individual. My comment, church, you've left the void, see what you've done. See what's stepping in to fill it. I'd like to just close this narrative a little bit with discussions on how manipulating emotional control starts back in childhood, in school and so forth. And then these people are raised on this and they don't know any different. Christ and his righteousness and his law is removed from their reality. And so with that, this void is filled by therapy, and they start with children. As you can tell if you hear Zoe on the sidelines adding her contributions, a little 14-year-old girl, she seems to know so much about these things. This is the educational background, and Ferretti has something very powerful to say here. Let me quote him. Ferretti says, "Outwardly, the promotion of positive emotional behavior appears to be a sensible an uncontroversial way of achieving desirable conduct. Who could possibly object to the following learning intention assigned to 6 to 8-year-old children in the English school system to, quote, recognize, name, and deal with feelings in a positive way, end quote. But who decides what is a positive way of dealing with feelings? The child? The mother or father? The teacher? The psychologist? The official? And what right does the curriculum have to impose its version of dealing positively with feelings? Sometimes children have very good reasons for dealing negatively with emotional issues. Indeed, not naming feelings may be an appropriate way of dealing with individual circumstances. Encouraging teachers to step over that boundary that separates education from instructing pupils how to feel represents the expansion of therapeutics into the classroom, end quote. Now you understand how we got to adults to be so lost into this world.
Okay. But you guys have never sat down and talked about.
He doesn't like to talk about his feelings.
Okay. Well,
No,
I'm
it's
not.
all about his feelings. It's,
Well, yeah, but he
anything
doesn't
I
like to
come up
talk
with
about
it, he doesn't understand anything I say or my point of view of anything or
He just thinks people are either like on his side or against him.
nobody's on his side. Nobody.
Yeah.
He thinks everybody's against him. He's almost like, and I see why, you know, his family thinks he's on drugs because he's
Crazy.
paranoid. Like,
Are you sure he's not using?
I'm sure. Like we get in arguments and stuff, but he tells me everything. Like I know everything he's doing everywhere everywhere he goes. Like her dad had a drug problem, and I'm very aware of the signs and everything and what to look for. And like he's angry and stuff, but he's always been that way. And there's no drugs. I almost wish there was, so I could pinpoint it on something and give it a reason, or I just don't know. Well, he can't stay home forever from work. I'm just gonna have to go see an attorney.
So he told Becca that you were threatening to take the baby away from him, so he'd never see. Yeah, okay. Yeah, he was kind of hung
Yeah.
up, but
Just come back, then. We'll just come back and we'll talk. I'm not taking her from you, and I never would. I will never take her from you.
what's that?
I'm not taking her from
All right,
you.
he's coming back.
Yeah.
Why don't he come in? It's cold.
Why
out there.
don't you come in with the baby? Alright.
Well, I'm going out with her, but
No, you stay
no,
in the house and you get your
you
shit
just
together.
say you just
You
say
stay out of it.
Yep. Doesn't need to be aggravated at this point. So
I'm not getting your phone. Your phone is the last thing I care about.
She's leaving, whatever. She wants to take the kid, whatever. It's the way it's got to be, because then otherwise I look like I'm the crazy person and not giving her the baby. So that's how it's. I'm not leaving here. This is my house.
okay, and that's fine. You guys come to that agreement for now.
I guess so, because
Okay.
that's the only agreement that's gonna be able to happen. Because
Agree.
otherwise, I'm gonna look like a crazy person, not giving her
Right.
the child. And
Yeah.
that's how the court system works now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if
That's,
you
I guess that's the only thing. She gets the kid,
what, just
and then she's telling me in front of you guys, she'll never take her from me.
I never said I was
Oh.
keeping her from. No, I didn't. When
Don't
we were in the
even.
house, I
Don't
said I would
even.
never keep her from.
Okay.
Don't
but
eat.
Just
Okay.
when
Can I get out?
yeah.
Jade, no, hey,
No.
just keep talking to me.
I'm done.
Please, come here, Jade.
Because now I'm a liar.
Okay. So you're
Hey, don't take her. Yeah, no, she's gonna leave and I was never gonna come back with my baby.
just
Whatever. I've been through it twice.
give him space.
Alright. Fine. She'll leave with the baby. I'm fine with it then, so whatever.
Okay. I'll just wait till your sister gets here, and then
Okay.
I want to talk to you for a little bit after that, and just kind of see where you're at. Okay.
Who's at?
Where you are at emotionally, because that's
Emotionally, she's taking my baby away. How do you think I am emotionally?
well, that's what I'm worried about.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. Have you ever lost a child in a
No.
divorce or anything?
Nope.
It sucks. And she tells me your phrase, oh yeah, it's gonna be fine, and then she leaves and she's never gonna let me fucking see her again. That's how it goes. See? These two? Now they live in Missouri.
Who's the mom of them?
Chelsea Taylor. Oh, you're happy that you get to go now, huh? Oh, you know, this is because you barked at me, right?
Why don't you just finish getting your stuff ready, and you two just stay away from each other.
You know the next guy you're with is gonna want to not have your daughter act like that too. You know that, right?
All right, just keep packing your stuff. It's
Right.
okay. All right, here's the sister.
You gonna let me hold and kiss my daughter before you leave? Now you're using my family against me just like she did, aren't you? What about your mom? Really?
There's nowhere to sleep.
This is exactly how I went with Chelsea, and you know it. And you're just doing the same thing.
I just woke up.
Just woke up. Is that what you young kids do? Sleep till noon?
Hello.
All right.
Where's Sturdy? Hi.
In a new diaper.
All right. Hi.
Who is that? Is that your Aunt Becca?
How you doing?
I think some time apart would be best, I think. I know.
All
honey.
because Zoe needs discipline. Like, I
I
was
know,
just
but-
trying to take her freaking phone.
That's a hard situation. With a step kid and
She's not gonna talk to me like that in my house.
it's all
And
right.
you're not gonna threaten to smack her either.
I didn't.
Yeah, you did. That's why we got into an argument. I said you're never gonna touch her.
Oh my god. That's not what I was saying.
I know, but I'm just worried about you, your mental health, and
Why is everybody talking about my
Because,
mental
honey, you
health?
you're very upset on the phone with me.
Because she's gonna take my daughter away. Just like
Bernie's
Chelsea
upset.
did with the
That
kids.
won't happen. That was a different
I
situation.
love how you're talking all nice and calm and sweet because you know it's been like that before.
I know it has, but that was a different situation. You were in a bad place.
Becca, would you stop?
John, I'm worried about you.
Oh my god. This is exactly what you
was-
wanted, isn't
no,
it?
No, John, I'm just worried about your kids.
Becca, would you just shut up? You're
John.
not have to worry about me. I've been fine.
Okay, but you just threatened to kill yourself on the phone.
Oh my god, I said if she took the baby away like you're gonna let her, I would want to kill myself.
That might have to happen today just to get things separated, but it's not. You're not never going to
She's
see
gonna
her again.
take her.
You will not never see her again. That can't happen.
Becca.
With the correct,
No.
with the law, with the courts, that
Becca.
can't.
She was telling me when you weren't here.
John, I know, but she was upset because you got in a fight.
Becca.
But you. You also
Becca.
said things.
That's fine. Take the baby away because then otherwise I look crazy. Otherwise I look crazy because this is the only thing that can happen is that she takes my daughter away.
But it won't be
And then
forever.
Becca, I'm never gonna talk to you again if that's how it is.
John, I'm just worried about your kids.
Becca.
I'm worried about the safety of your kids.
Becca.
Hi,
I
Journey.
have kids.
Can we go somewhere? you come.
Here, you give Daddy a hug first. Yes. See?
It'll be okay.
See?
Yeah.
She
I know,
likes me. She loves
you.
me.
I know.
She should love you.
You're dad.
Yeah.
You're a good dad, John. I'm not saying you're not. You're not never gonna see her again.
Becca.
Today you need to be
Becca.
separated.
Becca, today is how it starts. And then... Okay, whatever.
Okay, maybe you and Jade won't end up together, but that doesn't mean you'll never see Journey again. I know that's what
Becca,
happened before,
Becca,
but that was a different situation,
Becca.
John.
Becca. Quit doing this whole thing and being all...
I'm just worried
Quiet,
about your
quiet.
kids, honey. I love you,
Becca, stop.
but I'm more
Oh
worried
my
about
God,
your
would
kids.
you stop? You're just like Mom.
Because I'm trying to help.
You're not trying to help anybody
I am.
but
I'm trying to help
her.
your kids.
I'm your
I'm not-
family.
I know. I'm not picking sides between you two.
Oh my God, okay, whatever. Whatever.
Okay, you're not taking Journey.
I'm not.
Yep. Where are you going with this?
Would you settle down?
I'm worried about.
I'm going over here because evidently people are leaving.
Okay, I think today it's best if you separate.
Becca, that's fine.
I'm worried about.
Becca, shut up. My God.
Today we just need to take.
Becca.
Is there something like I'm worried about him?
Becca, would you quit? Would you quit?
John, worried you're gonna
Oh
do
my-
something to yourself
Are you fucking serious?
because you said that.
Would you?
Well,
this is what you did.
No.
This is what you did.
Honey, it was-
Now everybody thinks I'm crazy again.
I don't think you're crazy, honey.
Becca, what are you
Yes.
doing?
Okay.
Just get out of my house, Becca.
Just go
Okay.
outside.
Jesus Christ. This is exactly what you wanted now. Now everybody thinks I'm fucking
This
crazy.
isn't what I wanted, John.
Can I give her a hug? I'm sorry, Peanut. This happened. Can you give her a kiss?
Zoe?
Does she have everything?
Do you have some stuff first?
All right, cool beans. Thanks everybody for playing.
Is Zoe out there?
No.
Or wait, not Zoe.
Zozo.
We're just gonna take a break for today.
Zozo.
Zoe!
Come on, let's
Grab
go.
your stuff, let's go. Something we need to do.
Leave it.
Threaten to kill himself.
Well,
Because I know my mother-in-law is very heavily involved, and
Becca,
I'm worried about you, babe.
stop.
I'm.
If you fucking seriously are gonna continue to do this, stop. Would you talk to her?
let's wait till we're off the
I'm
yard.
not crazy. I'm not crazy. I'm not gonna do anything. Would you fucking quit talking to the police officer,
Will
please?
you promise me that you won't
Yes!
hurt yourself? Okay, that's all. That's all I wanted.
My God.
Zoe, put some pants on, babe.
Get the fuck out of here then.
You have your wallet? No, it's in his truck. Okay.
Jesus Christ.
Jade's gonna get her wallet out of your truck.
Her wallet's not in my truck.
She said it is.
No, it's not.
Well, she'll.
Yeah, it is. It was just in there.
I'll look.
Well, she just needs it.
Get in the vehicle with the baby, would you?
Put her in the car seat, kid.
Right, Becca. You're not a fucking therapist. It's not gonna be alright. I'm never gonna see my daughter now. You promise? You promise. Because you're fucking. Miss Rachel over there. See, now the baby's calling. I fucking want to go with you guys.
It'll be alright.
Bye.
Okay, is there anything we need to do?
If it doesn't settle down, yeah, you can go in the courthouse and file paperwork to get him committed if this doesn't seem to be straightening out. He's pretty upset right now, so I'm just glad he was willing to separate the baby.
Yep.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, his mental health is not good right now. I don't know if he's on.
Well, she says I asked her several times,
but
I'm kind of wondering.
She just doesn't want to make it worse with the cops. But we've been through this before, and it looks similar.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Okay, just get her out of here for now. And
okay, thank you very much.
all right.
This is Paul Dorr. I'm sitting in my office with Jonathan Gerald VanderMeulen, and in our continuing efforts here at Rescue Perishing in confronting the family court system and the feminism that's crushing Christian men, marriages, and families. That'd be a good opportunity to have a visit with Jonathan. Here locally, he's been in the news, and we'd like, often as the case, because of the structure of the family court system, his side doesn't get to be told. But tonight we're going to talk somewhat about his side of what's transpired so far, and how can we, what's the best way that a man can see justice with all the odds stacked against him. So welcome, Jonathan. Glad you're here with me tonight. First of all, this is not a deposition or anything else, but I think it's good that you state that you swear that things you're about to say are the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Can you swear that?
Yep.
Okay. And if I ask a question that you don't want to answer, you're not ready to answer it, just say I have no comment on that. If you need to back up and clarify some things, let's do that as well. Quick background: you are from Ocheyedan, Jonathan Gerald VanderMeulen. Your wife's full name is
Jade Allison Mankel.
Jade Allison Mankel. And the number of children you have, and I've listed them as ours, mine, and hers. How many children do you and Jade have?
Together we have one daughter.
One daughter. We don't want her name. She's how old?
She's 2.
2, okay. And then how many children do you have from any prior relationships?
I have 2 children with another woman, and she has 1 child with another man.
Okay, so those 2, okay. 1 child and 2 years old, and 2 children, other woman. And then how many children does Jade have apart from you?
She had 1 daughter.
Okay, all right. Your parents' names are?
Doug and Laura VanderMeulen.
And her parents' names?
It's Scott and Sharon.
Sharon?
Maybe not.
Mankel? Are they married or divorced?
They're divorced.
Okay. Well, we're not going to cover it all tonight, but we're going to start with the highlights the last 2 or 3 weeks. In the next meeting, I'd like to kind of back up and see how we got here. But for right now, I did get the police reports from the sheriff's office, and I'd like you to kind of fill in some details and stuff for us at this time. January 16, Osceola County Sheriff's Deputy, let me see, double check his name here. I think it was Seth Hoffman. Yes, I filed an incident report for harassment or stalking.
On January
16, 2025. It was a harassment and stalking call.
And because January 12th was the incident where she called about the That's when we split up on the Sunday, January 12th.
Excuse me. The report date is January 16. The incident occurred January 12 through to January 16.
I see.
So that's the report date that was filed.
I see.
All right. And you're listed as a suspect, and the offense is harassment by communication.
I guess I email or text her too much.
Text messages.
Yeah.
Haven't seen those texts. I'm not sure what was said. I'm sure when there's marital strife, the text messages aren't the most respectful.
I just asked her when she's coming home, and
okay. Let me review the narrative that Officer Hoffman wrote. I'd like to get your feedback and response to it. He said, now he blacked out, but it's along with your wife, Jade, they blacked that out, but I'm going to put that in. And her sister-in-law, that's your sister?
My sister, Becca.
Also known as Rebecca?
Yeah.
What's her last name?
Will now.
Will?
I think so, yeah.
Now? Was she?
She was VanderMeulen too.
Okay, yeah. Okay, got it. Okay, so on January 16, Jade, along with her sister-in-law, Rebecca Will, came in to report that Jonathan is harassing and stalking her. So they came into the sheriff's office. Jonathan has been texting her and messaging her repeatedly over the last several days. On January 15, 2025, Jade got her car back from John, but when she got it back, they found a trail camera that is equipped with GPS hidden in the trunk. Any part of that true or false?
She would bring me hunting every time I went hunting, and I'd keep everything in her car.
Okay.
All of my hunting equipment was in there.
So she knew at all times that was in there. So there's nothing hidden in the trunk.
No, it was just in there.
It's routinely in there.
Yeah.
Okay. Jade believes that John is tracking her because he tells where she has been in his messages to her.
And that was because of the family link from the cell phone that her daughter was on our app.
Okay. So that had nothing to do with...
Nothing to do with the trail camera.
Jade showed this officer several messages between her and John. In one of the messages, John asked her who lives at an address in Lake Park, and then said the guy looks like a douche. Tell us about that a little bit.
I just saw on the Family Link app where they've always been, where they go, and it alerts me on the app. Yep. And then as soon as I asked her what they were doing at that address, she deleted the app and all the the information that was coming.
That was an address that wasn't familiar to you guys as a couple. You didn't.
Never.
There visiting. Did you get any answer to those questions?
No, never. And she had her daughter was there with her, which was another weird thing,
Yeah.
Like, why would you bring your daughter somewhere?
How old's that daughter?
She's 15 now.
Okay. All right. Okay. Have you since found out who lives there at that address or anything?
I've asked a couple people around, and I think one person I asked said that he's married to some lady, and that they
know
that it wouldn't have been probably like a like a sexual thing or whatever. But
okay, there was something else. To do
probably,
with
maybe something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
But yeah, completely unknown at this point.
Right.
In some of the messages, he calls her stupid, retarded, and says he hates her. True or false?
It could have been, probably true.
Yep. He also complained about her causing him to lose his daughter. Now, tell us a little bit about that.
To lose, because I had already had 2 kids. I got, moved away, and I didn't want to have my third daughter move away.
So causing him to lose his daughter, was the court decision already done?
No, just moving out, just moving out of my house.
General. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I just wanted to watch her get, just raise her and watch her grow up.
Yep. We're going to talk about in a minute what led up to her leaving and the incident there. Jade said she had a lot more, and that Becca said she had a lot also, and so does her parents.
A lot what?
Apparently, he's talking about text messages.
Oh, well, they wouldn't let me talk to her. I couldn't talk to her, so then I had to,
You were texting your sister. You were texting
anybody that could get through to her.
Yeah. But nothing. Do you recall? Were you upset? Were you saying dumb things to your sister and your parents?
Well, I was only, then they were using her pretty much as blackmail to get what they wanted out of me. They asked my sister, like, can I come see my daughter now? And she would say, well, I don't like your tone right now. And I'd be like, well, my tone doesn't matter if I can see my daughter or not.
Right.
You're not in control of that. And she goes, I actually am in control of that, and you're not allowed to see your daughter right now.
This was
My sister,
Becca. Okay. And that's just an assertion. She has no lawful control over any of that. So.
But then she said that she would call the sheriff and the police if I didn't, if I showed up or whatever to see her. And,
Yeah. Well, then at that time, Jade was there with Becca, as far as you know?
The first week when she left, my parents were in Jamaica. So then she stayed with my sister. And then when they got home from Jamaica, she moved in with my mom and dad.
Okay. So, yeah, at that point, you could have sought for some sort of estrangement ruling or something to get the court at least to, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know exactly, but what authority she has to take your child from you and keep your child from you, let alone your sister has none.
Well, I couldn't talk to Jade at the time because she had me all blocked and everything,
Okay. Jade told this officer that during the argument on Sunday that John had pushed her over the couch and had his hands around her throat when that happened. She said they ended up on the floor, and when he got up, he kicked her in the right side. This officer asked why there was no marks on her neck, and she said that he didn't do it very hard. Jade did say she was sore from the kicks to the side, but there weren't any marks from it. Jade said she doesn't want to file charges at this point because she doesn't want things to get worse, and she just wanted to get through this. Jade is still considering the charges, and she was concerned about the fact that she had slapped John.
She punched me in the face.
So
twice.
what? Okay, who initiated the violence?
Jade did.
Jade did.
She punched me twice, and then she screamed at me to hit her.
She screamed at you to hit her?
Yeah, she was screaming at me, hit me.
These feminist groups, they all coach these women on how to get hit and then to scream to the sheriff, he's hit me, that sort of thing.
But I never did, and I just got my daughter, and we went into my pickup.
Back up. You never did lay a hand on her?
No, I never hit her. And then when I tried to grab my daughter, she tried to grab my arm. And I pushed her off of me, and then that's when she fell to the ground in a very big act and said, "Oh, I'm hurt."
You were simply trying to cover off your arm so you could leave the house
and
keep the peace.
Right, grab my daughter and leave. And which I did, and then we were in the pickup, and instead of leaving, I didn't want to leave at the time, so I said, I'm gonna go back in and see if I can't make everything can boil over. And then she's on the phone, and I said, why do you have to call somebody? Like, you don't have to tell your parents already. This is nothing. Like, we don't have to make it a deal. And she goes, I'm on the phone with the sheriff's office in case you beat me again. And I was like, well, that never happened in the first place, but I guess we're just going to leave now then.
All right. I did, and I'm going to put some commentary in here on my own at this time. Back in the early to mid-'90s, the former Carroll County Attorney John Worden, who just passed away a few weeks ago, and at that time he used to be the president of the County Attorneys Association, and he was the president of Iowa State Association of Counties. He was a high official in local government. He was a really top cop. And he warned me in the mid-'90s that when the federal government passed this law, what's called the VAWA Act, the Violence Against Women Act, that all this federal money was going to come down to the state attorney general's offices, and from there down to the county attorneys associations. And the money would not come to them unless they agreed to a policy on domestic violence issues of only charging the primary abuser of force, user of force and violence. And I said, so what's primary? And he said, I have found that the one who usually initiates the violence is usually the primary one. And I said, so what happens in these situations? He said, when that's the case, he said, a wife grabs an ashtray and throws it at her husband and hits him in the head, that sort of thing. He's kind of responding in self-defense and in anger, and he'll push her back. He may even slap her or something. And she screams and cries and calls the sheriffs, and he's hit me, he's hurt me. So with that, he said most of the men, when they're the victim of the first violence, he said most of them later, when you ask them to, they don't want to go into court and sit there and testify against their wife that she hit me and blah, blah, blah. So they default, say, I'm not filing a complaint, and the woman steps up, and she gets to be the accuser. And he said this federal money is requiring county attorneys and county sheriff's offices to now primarily charge the men in these situations, even though the women was often more violent, often initiated it more, and he's just usually doing self-defense. So I asked Sheriff Wilmoth, when he handed me this report over in Sibley, I said, why didn't Seth file some charges here? He said, well, we're supposed to charge the primary accuser. And he said, it was really hard to determine here. And they both hit each other. So we just went with domestic harassment instead of domestic assault. And I said, okay, but who initiated the force first? And he said, I don't know that he ever found that out. He never did. Did you tell them, Seth Hoffman?
I told him before he even went inside to talk to her that she had hit me first and I had marks on my forehead. And he goes, did you hit her? And I said, no, I didn't. We were just about ready to leave and get out of here. And then I saw you coming, so we waited.
So Osceola County Chief Deputy Seth Hoffman knows this.
Yeah, I told him.
He was told this.
I told him that she hit me and that's why we were leaving. And he asked me if I wanted to press charges and I said, no, I didn't.
And that's exactly what the former Carroll County attorney said. Most men don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So then they flip around and they will often represent the woman in doing this. She apparently knew that she'd have to get on the stand and testify that she'd be lying under oath, and you'd have to finally defend yourself at some point. So she doesn't want to press charges. She wants to get this all said and into the report, even though, and that's why Seth Hoffman puts in there's no marks in her throat, on her side, and anything else. That's his indirect way of saying, I don't believe her.
Right.
And he doesn't say in here that John told me at the very beginning that she hit me first, slugged me twice. I grabbed my child and tried to leave the house.
Right.
That's the conduct of a man trying to keep the peace.
Right.
That's not the conduct of an abuser. Now, they didn't charge you with abuse because they knew the story was cooked. They weren't gonna, if it got on the stand, she would not be able to sustain that, especially when there were no marks. And that's his nice way of alluding to that, but he could have stated straight up that John denies ever hitting her. He did not. Now let's go on. Jade said that she didn't want to file charges at this point because she doesn't want things to get worse, and she just wanted to get through this. Jade is still considering charges, and she was concerned about the fact that she had slapped John. So that's indirect way of saying she knew that John got on the stand and say she punched me in the head twice. Jade and Becca asked about getting a no contact order, and this officer explained the common routes that no contact orders are filed. This is through the Family Crisis Center. There is no more wicked organization in Northwest Iowa than the Family Crisis Center. They got started in 1982 or 1983. Today they bring in $3 million a year. $2.3 million of that money comes from federal and state grant money. It's taxpayer money. They hold local benefit auctions, and they get 80-some thousand of the local people. Local people are not supporting the Family Crisis Center. Taxpayer money is. These places are staffed by feminist women. They know how to get these. In fact, Christy, whatever her name is, the director in 2022 was making $140,000 a year. None of these liberal feminist women at these Family Crisis Centers want to see family crises go away. If they go away, their need for their programs, their budgets, their salaries go away as well. So they know that the minute this no contact order is entered into, they help do this, then they've isolated you from your wife. So there's no way to sit down and talk and get reconciled, maybe get some older couple in to give us counsel, maybe get a pastor and somebody else to sit down and talk about this stuff. If your wife is not a believer, it's a good time to bring in the gospel and explain your life's going to be like this until you get right with the Lord and find a decent church and start being trained and taught how to be a wife and a mother, and for John to be taught about how to be a husband and provider. So Family Crisis Center only accelerated this problem, in my personal opinion, and I've published letters to the editor about these people. I've been warning people for years. The church won't do its job, so it turns this stuff over to these humanists who get huge amounts of taxpayer money, and their stated goal nationwide is to destroy men. This officer told Jade that the FCC, I'm back to the narrative, the Family Crisis Center has different resources that can be very helpful for her in her type of a situation. I don't know lately, but years back, the Family Crisis Center was holding training workshops for cops, even for the judiciary, for medical people. They have all these people feeding out of their hands so that justice and righteousness and what really happened out there in that house that night doesn't become a part of of the narrative. That this officer had Jade contact.
Every day after that, she was going to work and the baby was going to daycare. And then on Wednesday, the daycare lady called me and said, hey, where's your daughter? And I was like, what do you mean, where's my daughter? She goes, she haven't seen her all week. And she told me she was going to be there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So then I was worried that she hadn't been to work and daycare, and she told me she was going to be. So then I was trying to call my wife to see where, what was going on, and she didn't answer. So then I tried to call her work to see if she was even at work. And her work wouldn't let me get through to her either. And the daycare lady was calling me asking where the baby was. And
you were wondering if they'd cut and run.
Well, if, just even why the baby wasn't at daycare when she told me she was going to be.
Yep. Anything you said at any time, because you know the people are going to respond to this, and they're going to say, yeah, he didn't tell you this and this and this. Any threats of violence, any threats of doing harm?
No, never. Not then, I was just, come home, I love you. And
Yep. Not then. Was there other times?
I'm, just calling her maybe some names, but never threatening her, not her life or anything,
Okay. Or threatening harm or
no,
injury or...
just come home and
Okay, all right.
Why you being a bitch?
Yep. Okay, so there's a lot questionable there, and the law enforcement and the community at large could get some mature people in who are not trying to manipulate you and everybody else, and try to just sit down with this couple and start working some things through, help them out. No one did that.
Never. I even asked in court, if we could sit down and just have like counseling or have a marriage therapy or whatever it's called, and nobody even acknowledged that I asked. Nobody said a damn thing about it.
Who was this in front of? You were in front of a
the judge and her attorney, and
you were alone?
Yeah, I was alone because, yeah.
And do you remember the judge's name?
I don't.
What court were you in?
Osceola.
Was it a male or female?
An older guy.
Tobias Cosgrove?
No, I think it was a different one than that.
Okay. So you asked...
I asked if we could do counseling or marriage therapy or anything, just anything.
Court or legal counsel that are there, no one even recognizes your question.
Nobody said nothing until they moved on to the next bullshit.
So they don't. It's clear that the system doesn't want to see reconciliation, restoration, righteousness. Okay, so then we have the next court document was February 21, not court document, incident report from the sheriff's office. The date this occurred is February 21, and it issued a warrant for a violation of the no contact order. It names you, and
I sent her an email.
The narrative says, on Friday, February 21, 2025, at approximately 14:30, maybe 2:30 in the afternoon, Jade called the sheriff's office and reported that John sent her more text messages. Jade also sent the text messages to the office cell phone. The text messages appear to be directed from John's phone number to hers.
That's false because I didn't have her phone number.
Okay.
She got a new phone, and I wasn't allowed to have her number, so then I emailed her old email a picture of our puppies that just had been born, and that was it.
He says the text messages appear to be directed from Jonathan's phone.
Right, to her phone.
Number to hers.
But it wasn't.
Why the appearance,
right.
Deputy Rosenberg? What part of this text message, when you get a forward, if it's from somebody else and it's tagged on there, it's clear that it has been.
Right.
But he's reducing it to a mere appearance.
Right.
So something else was forwarded by somebody, and this was probably your email.
Right.
Which is a picture of the new puppies.
And it was like on a Monday too. It wasn't on Friday.
Okay.
And it was days later when she had turned it in.
Okay. Jade said that Jonathan told his mom he was going to Colorado. That was true?
Probably.
Jade was not able to provide any more information. So
I don't know what that has to do with anything.
No, I know. Jonathan's home. His truck and semi were not there at the time.
They were at my house at least 8 times that day.
Really?
Oh, yeah, because I got cameras, and I finally called them, and I said, why are you guys at my house more than I am?
What'd they say?
They said, well, we're here to talk to you. And I said, well, I can see that. I said, you're talking to me right now. Talk to me. And they're like, no, we're just trying to get to talk to you in person. I said, well, obviously, but I'm not going to be there in person, so talk to me right now.
And again, you were in the area, or were you on the way to Colorado?
I was going to go ride my motorcycle.
Okay. His truck and semi were not there at the time. Seth informed me that Jonathan covered his windows with newspapers.
Because they were walking around my house looking at all my blinds.
Sure, yep. At approximately 15:45, I issued an arrest warrant. Okay, so it's a fake text message, and based on that...
an email, yeah.
Okay, so you're...
It wasn't directly to her number from my number either. It was an email address to her email address.
Okay, was that included in the no contact? You couldn't text her, email her, whatever?
Maybe, probably.
Yeah, but you weren't thinking about that at that time.
Right.
You wanted her to see...
I thought she would want to see it too.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have a copy of that email yet?
Maybe back, I could probably look it up.
Look for it if you can. Okay, so then later they did arrest you?
Yeah, I turned myself in on Sunday when I got home.
Okay, all right. How long were you in?
Couple
hours?
Half a day, yeah.
Half a day, okay, all right. And then on April 11, there was a search warrant for your property.
Mm-hmm.
Let's read some of that narrative a little bit, and let's see. There it is. On April 11, 2025, this officer served a search warrant on Jonathan VanderMeulen's residence at Ocheyedan, Iowa. During the search, a silver and black Smith & Wesson handgun was located in a DeWalt bag. It also contained vacuum-sealed bags of what appeared to be marijuana. This officer also observed another DeWalt bag that contained jars with what appears to be marijuana buds. This officer also encountered an open-top Amazon box with a used pipe in it with all the other drug paraphernalia substances. The defendant is clearly subject to a no-contact order and isn't allowed to possess firearms.
Because my dad at the time, I'm pretty sure, because they know I have guns, lots of guns.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure he would have mentioned something to my mother, who would have mentioned it to her, and then she would have got somebody to be like, hey.
Make the call?
Yeah.
Okay. But Jade would have known, as your wife, she would know you had guns too, right?
Oh, and she'd know that I have some at my buddy's house that, and I have some here and there, and I all over the place.
Yeah. So it's thank you, Family Services, to encouraging this woman. Instead of getting solid marriage counseling and help, they push her to get a no contact order, and with that, it divides the family. It gives him no chance to talk to his wife or his child, and then from that, knowing that he's a hunter and has firearms and so forth, they then jig up somebody to file for a search warrant. By the way, about 10 years ago in the Iowa legislature, there was an effort to strike from the law the provision that someone under a no-contact order or domestic abuse charge cannot hold a gun or own a gun. They tried to repeal that law because the argument was, just because this other event's gone on, this guy doesn't lose his right to self-defense.
Right.
And it came close, but it lost. But it's not a moral law. It's not right. So there's nobody arbitrating between you and your wife to try to sit down and talk.
No.
And get resolved and reconciled.
The very first day when she was at my sister's house, and I said, "Can I talk? What's going on?" My sister was the one who said, "She doesn't want to talk to you. Just get a divorce." And I was like, "What do you mean, just get a divorce? Why would you even say that?" And she goes, "Just get a divorce." I was like, "Fuck."
What were your parents saying?
They were in Jamaica. They couldn't answer their phones at the time.
Okay. When they got back?
When they got back, they just said that, she's upset and she doesn't want to talk to you. And I said, well, why is she so upset? We've been together for 6 years. She's been upset before. We've both, had an argument before. And there's just there's nothing different about this one. Why is she so upset? And then she doesn't want to talk to you. You can't talk to her. Goodbye.
And who was saying that?
My parents at the time.
All right.
They'll say that now when I ask, can you tell her I love her and I miss her? And they say, no, we can't. She doesn't want to hear it.
Okay, so your sister, your parents, nobody is trying to help.
Nobody.
To bring restoration, reconciliation to any of this.
They're all mad at me because we switched daycare business because my mom was charging us a bunch of money and doing whatever she wanted and then watching everybody else's kids for free. And then...
Hold on, what do you mean?
She'd watch Savannah's kid for free, and then she'd watch my sister's kids for free, and then she was charging us $600 a month to watch our kid. And we were like, hey, if you're watching them kids for free, you're watching our kid for free. And then it got to be a big thing, so then I was like, well, we're just going to go to a daycare where everybody pays the same. So then we switched daycares. And then it was a big deal because we took the baby away from her and she doesn't get to see the baby and the baby, and then we don't go over there for Sunday dinner now because
Laura VanderMeulen was charging $600 a month to watch your 2-year-old daughter.
And she was letting people believe she was doing it for free.
Really?
Oh yeah. At church she'd tell people, we gotta watch the baby, and nobody would ask her, you're doing that for money, and she just, we're just watching the baby, and I'm letting them believe it was for. My aunt and uncle were flabbergasted when I told them we were paying $600 a month. They were like, "What?" We thought.
Who's that?
Brian, really? And Sandy Vanderhoof. They were like, "We thought we had no idea you were paying her. We thought it was all free." No, it's free for everybody else, but for us, it was a pretty penny.
Did they say why they had to charge you?
I think it was because of the whole acreage thing again.
Value that they thought.
Yeah.
So their word to their own son back in 2012 meant nothing.
Right. Oh, and you should have seen the Christmases. At Christmas time, me and my wife would get a $20 gift card to Subway while my siblings were getting $1,000 of this and this and this. And I was like, well, where's our $1,000 of this? And they were like, well, the acreage. The acreage.
Wow.
And I was like, well, then, kids, get in the car. We're going home. Merry Christmas.